They said the tree would cost $30,000 to remove. The HOA fined me $500 a day until I complied. But what they didn't know was, it was a federally protected species. And they'd just declared war on the wrong biologist. I moved to Greystone Glen to get quiet. Semi-retired, divorced, and ready to spend my mornings writing wildlife reports and evenings watching hawks from my deck. The house wasn't fancy, but the yard was mine, a little patch of forest with a towering ash juniper right in the center. I'd named it OL, Smoke. The first letter came folded like a court summons. Notice of violation, tree poses structural hazard and must be removed within 14 days. I thought it was a mistake. Surely, they didn't mean my tree. OL, Smoke was solid as bedrock, deep roots, no disease, perfectly positioned away from the house. I called the HOA president. His tone was slick. We've had complaints. Liability risk. You understand. I didn't. But I offered to have it inspected. They refused. Instead, I got a second notice. This one stapled to my mailbox with a fresh $500 fine. Then someone posted photos of my yard on the neighborhood app, cropped, misleading, with the caption, "Is this safe for our children?" Things escalated fast. Suddenly, I was that guy. Rumors flew. I was harboring invasive species. I was hoarding rainwater. One post accused me of attracting coyotes. I recognized the username, Greg Stanton. The guy who lost the HOA presidency to a woman 3 years ago. A failed developer with a personal vendetta. Knowledge nugget number 1, HOAs can't override municipal or state protections, but many bank on residents not knowing that. One night, a neighbor I barely knew, Linda, retired teacher, slipped a manila envelope into my mailbox. No return address. Inside were minutes from a secret HOA meeting. My tree had been discussed at length. Greg had called it a nuisance and an eyesore holding back property values. Then, under miscellaneous business, they voted to allocate $3,200 of HOA funds to preliminary contractor scouting. Without full board approval. That's when I knew this wasn't about safety. It was about control. So I started digging. And I hit oil. Greg, it turns out, had bought the half-acre lot behind mine 6 months earlier, planned to clear it and sell to a short-term rental developer. Only problem? OL, Smoke cast partial shade across the property line. Shade meant soil erosion. Soil erosion meant permitting delays. So Greg was trying to scorch the obstacle. But here's where things get delicious. That ash juniper in my yard? It's not just any tree. It's prime nesting habitat for the golden-cheeked warbler, an endangered species protected under the Endangered Species Act. I'd even done an assessment report for a federal contractor 6 years ago. I pulled the files, photos, coordinates, timestamps. And yes, OL, Smoke was on the list. Knowledge nugget number 2, under the ESA, knowingly harming or destroying protected habitat, on private land, is a federal offense. I printed the report. Certified mailed it to the HOA, with a copy to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Then I filed a cease and desist. Attached to it, a motion to audit the HOA's discretionary spending under our own bylaws. You'd think that would stop them. Instead, a man in a yellow vest showed up with a clipboard and flagged my tree with orange spray paint. When I asked what company he was with, he shrugged. Third-party contractor. Subcontracted by a board member. I took his picture. Called the city arborist. Called the EPA. Within 3 days, Fish and Wildlife had launched an inquiry. That same week, the IRS flagged the HOA's 990 filing, irregular disbursements. Then the floodgates opened. 2 more neighbors, both fined mysteriously in the past year, came forward with their own documents. Turns out, Greg had been operating a special fund buried in budget footnotes. Nearly $19,000 had been spent on off-the-books contractor estimates and strategic landscaping services, including for a property he personally owned. Screenshot this clause and tag a friend who needs HOA armor. Any HOA that allocates funds for personal gain without majority consent may be in violation of state fiduciary duty laws. I wasn't just fighting for my tree anymore. I was fighting for everyone who'd been manipulated by a petty tyrant in a golf shirt. We lawyered up. Linda became our unofficial strategist. Mark, a retired city planner, cross-checked our community's original deed. Turns out the developer had signed a conservation easement on 0.7 acres, including the strip where OL Smoke stood. We drafted a letter to the entire HOA membership. We attached receipts. One board member resigned the next morning. 2 days later, we got word a federal investigator would be visiting the property. Not just for the tree, but for potential retaliatory conduct against a whistleblower. That's a Title 18 matter. My security camera caught Greg at 1:43 a.m., ducking through the easement, flashlight in hand. He sprayed something on the roots of OL Smoke. So we got soil samples. He'd used copper sulfate. Knowledge nugget number 3, using herbicides on protected flora, even accidentally, can result in criminal prosecution and fines over $50,000. The hearing was surreal. A folding table courtroom in a converted community center. Greg tried to deflect, blamed miscommunication. His voice cracked when the EPA rep brought up the copper sulfate. Then the U.S. Fish and Wildlife officer pulled out a blown-up satellite photo. This tree has existed here since before your subdivision was platted. You don't get to rewrite that. The judge ordered an immediate cease and desist on any HOA action involving trees or landscaping. Greg was fined $17,000. He resigned from the HOA and sold his lot for a $60,000 loss. 3 months later, we held a vote to reform the HOA bylaws. Passed unanimously. And OL Smoke? Still standing. Still nesting golden-cheeked warblers each spring. Linda and I started a microgrant for neighborhood ecology projects. Kids now do birdwatching reports. We built a bench beneath OL Smoke, with a plaque that says, "Roots run deeper than rules." But 2 weeks ago, I got a plain envelope. No return address. Inside, a surveyor's sketch. Lot lines. Circled in red. And scrawled in pen. Phase 2 coming soon. Next week, the city that tried to steal a solar farm.